come up to me and say, that song was so inspiring, so encouraging, so positive, so empowering, you know, and that makes me feel.
How does a hitmaker with chart-topping songs, global fame, and awards just vanish from the music scene almost overnight? That's the mystery of Des'ree. She gave us timeless anthems like You Gotta Be and Kissing You, yet suddenly disappeared, and whispers say Beyoncé had something to do with it. Rumor has it a bitter dispute over Kissing You, a song Beyoncé recorded without clearance, set off a chain reaction that blacklisted Des'ree from the industry. Even Damon Dash hinted Jay-Z may have played a role in silencing her. But was it really industry sabotage, health struggles, or a mix of both? This story isn't just about a singer fading from the spotlight, it's about how the music industry protects its power players, even if it means erasing a true talent. Child, the disappearance of Des'ree is honestly one of the music industry's juiciest unsolved mysteries. How does a hitmaker like Des'ree just vanish almost overnight? While there are official explanations, rumors have circulated for years about a much bigger name behind her sudden exit, Beyoncé. Yes, that Beyoncé. The story goes that a dispute over the song Kissing You, which BA recorded for her BD Deluxe edition without proper clearance, may have triggered a chain of events that slowly pushed Des'ree out of the spotlight. Allegedly, Damon Dash has shared some details about what went down and claims that Jay-Z played a role in blacklisting her. Now settle in, because this is some serious tea. One thing that cannot be denied is that Des'ree was an artist who genuinely sang to spread positivity. She often said that the moments people told her her music inspired them were what she truly lived for.
You never know when you're writing a hit song. When I wrote Feel So High, I never thought to myself, yes, that's going to make me famous, it's going to be huge. It was a song that stemmed from feeling negative, really. At the time, I thought to myself, well, I've done the demos, I've got this far, now what? I haven't sung in front of anyone, and that, for me, was the main thing that stopped me from taking the plunge much earlier.
Well, I know many people today might not even be familiar with Des'ree, but I am willing to bet most of you recognize the song that really put her on the map, Feel So High.
Kind of had very strong contradictions in myself, conflict, I would say, not contradictions, about singing. Because even though the desire was there, it terrified me to do it. And still, now, I'm paralyzed with nerves when I have to go on stage. When I have to sing in the studio, I have to let everybody leave.
You may also remember Des'ree's haunting ballad Kissing You, immortalized on the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack and celebrated worldwide. Another of her standout tracks, You Gotta Be, soared to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, became VH1's most played music video, and lingered on the Billboard charts for an astonishing 80 weeks. At the height of her career, Des'ree collected prestigious honors, including the title of Best British Female Solo Artist. Born in November 1968 in southeast London, she grew up at the crossroads of cultures, her mother from British Guyana, her father from Barbados. Their roots filled her childhood with the rhythms of reggae, calypso, and jazz. Despite having no industry contacts, a stroke of fate set her career in motion at 22. Her boyfriend sent a demo tape to Sony 550, which quickly recognized her gift and signed her. But while Des'ree's voice and artistry captivated audiences, her path took a darker turn. She was eventually squeezed out of the spotlight, and many believe she was quietly blacklisted. One spark that ignited this downfall was a highly publicized clash with Beyoncé. For her birthday album, Beyoncé recorded a cover of Kissing You, renaming it Still in Love, Kissing You, and credited herself as a writer. Even after licensing negotiations collapsed, the song and its accompanying video still went ahead. When Des'ree discovered this, she filed suit, seeking $150,000 in damages and an injunction to stop distribution of the cover. This wasn't the first time Des'ree had to defend her work. Back in 1998, she reached a settlement with Janet Jackson after claiming that Got Till It's Gone borrowed heavily from her song Feel So High. The agreement granted her 25% of the publishing royalties. For Des'ree, the dispute wasn't about money, it was about acknowledgement. It wasn't about getting paid. It was about justice. If Janet had just asked, it would have been fine. Artists sample all the time, but you have to give credit where it's due. So when Beyoncé repeated the pattern, Desiree refused to stay silent. Yet in taking on one of the world's biggest superstars, she may have sealed her fate. Industry whispers suggest that her lawsuit against Beyoncé branded her as difficult, leading to her quiet erasure from the mainstream stage and cutting short a career that once seemed destined for greatness. And just like that, the airplay vanished. The label support evaporated, and the doors of opportunity slammed shut. Desiree's decision to stand firm may have been the right one ethically, but it came with a crushing price: her career. Reports claim that Sony cut ties with her, dismissing her latest project as a flop. A strange excuse, considering her track record. This is the same artist who gave the world You Gotta Be, Kissing You, and Life, songs that not only charted, but etched themselves into pop culture. To cast her aside over one lukewarm album wasn't just unfair, it was absurd. By then, she had already proven she could sell records, pack venues, and write songs that stood the test of time. If anyone had earned the freedom to stumble, regroup, and return stronger, it was her, but the way things unfolded suggested more than a simple business decision. Whispers began to spread. Damon Dash hinted that Jay-Z himself had a hand in her downfall, while media outlets speculated about other possible factors. Some pointed to Desiree's health, an underactive thyroid that allegedly left her fatigued, prompting Sony to worry about her ability to keep up with the industry's relentless pace. Others suggested her battles with anxiety made it difficult to consistently release new material, even though she still lit up the stage whenever she performed. Taken together, the picture was grim. Whether it was industry politics, health struggles, or calculated sabotage, the outcome was the same: an extraordinary voice, silenced far too soon. If you ask me, none of these struggles had to spell the end of Desiree's career. With a supportive label and a team that believed in her, she could have continued creating the kind of soulful music that moved people, all while managing her health and protecting her peace of mind. Instead, the industry seemed more focused on the hurdles than on the extraordinary talent standing behind them, and then came the radio politics. Urban stations reportedly didn't want to spin her records because her sound supposedly wasn't black or urban enough to sit alongside other black artists of the time. Which, let's be real, is absurd. We're talking about shutting out a chart-topping, powerhouse vocalist because her production didn't fit a narrow formula. The irony is staggering. The same industry that loves to tout its diversity suddenly couldn't find a place for a black woman whose voice and artistry didn't conform to their neatly packaged boxes. The double standard was impossible to miss, and it reeked of something deeper. Desiree herself spoke about this frustration. "The definition of black music needs redefining," she once said, pointing out how even legends like Jimi Hendrix and Tina Turner struggled for play on urban radio, while Sod and Seal were dismissed as being too pop. Her words cut to the heart of the issue. Was the industry really saying black musicians weren't allowed to explore a range of styles, from jazz to pop, without being questioned about their authenticity? The confusion extended to her label too. Marketing teams couldn't figure out where she fit. They told her she wasn't black enough for black radio, not quite mainstream enough for pop, and suggested rebranding her for the adult contemporary market instead. "What's AC?" she recalled asking. "That's adult contemporary?" I had to get used to all these categories and names. The implication was clear. Her artistry wasn't the problem. It was the system trying to pigeonhole her. Then came the backlash to Life, one of her biggest hits, which, ironically, was derailed by a handful of quirky lyrics. Lines like, "I don't want to see a ghost. I'd rather have a piece of toast" landed her on worst lyric ever lists, with critics mocking her for daring to rhyme ghost with toast. Suddenly, instead of being celebrated as a hitmaker, she became a punchline. Brutal. And unfair. Because let's be honest, plenty of artists have dropped questionable lyrics and still gone on to sell out arenas. That alone wasn't reason enough for her to disappear. When you step back and piece it all together, the radio shutout, the marketing confusion, the mockery over one verse, the health challenges, the so-called flop album, it doesn't add up to a natural decline. It feels engineered. Her fade from the spotlight wasn't simply a matter of missteps or bad luck. Something bigger was at play. When Beyoncé repeated what felt like the same offense, Desiree once again chose to fight back. But going up against one of the biggest stars in the world, and by extension, her powerful partner Jay-Z, may have been the move that sealed her fate. Damon Dash, who worked closely with the power couple in their early years, later hinted that her lawsuit didn't just make waves, it made enemies. In an industry where influence can be as decisive as talent, crossing the wrong giant can mean the end of your career, no matter how gifted you are. After the case, Desiree's career seemed to unravel in fast forward. Radio play dwindled, label backing dissolved, and opportunities that should have been hers vanished. Sony reportedly dropped her, citing a flopped album as the reason. But the explanation never made sense. Here was an artist who had delivered undeniable hits, who had proven she could fill venues and top charts. To dismiss her over one underperforming record was more than short-sighted, it was insulting. Artists with far less success have been given multiple chances to reinvent themselves. Desiree had more than earned the right to stumble, regroup, and return stronger. Instead, she was cast aside, her past accomplishments treated as though they counted for nothing. Of course, industry gossip points to other factors. Some reports claimed her health played a role, specifically, an underactive thyroid that left her with low energy and inconsistent output. Others noted that she struggled with anxiety, which may have limited how much music she released, even though she still commanded the stage whenever she performed. But even if those challenges slowed her, they didn't explain why she disappeared altogether. Artists have faced health battles, creative dry spells, even scandals, and still returned to success. Why was Desiree treated differently? Part of the answer may lie in radio politics. Urban radio stations allegedly didn't want to play her music, claiming her sound wasn't black or urban enough. The idea that her soulful voice couldn't coexist alongside other black artists was absurd, and Desiree herself called out the hypocrisy. "The definition of black music needs redefining," she once said, pointing to legends like Jimi Hendrix and Tina Turner, who also faced pushback, and even contemporaries like Sade and Seal, who were dismissed as too pop. What the industry was really doing was enforcing narrow boxes and refusing to let black artists cross genres without penalty. Desiree's refusal to conform left her trapped between labels, not urban enough for one category, not pop enough for another. Her own record company even floated the idea of marketing her as adult contemporary, leaving her puzzled at being shoved into boxes that had little to do with her artistry. Adding insult to injury, her hit Life, which had soared up the charts, was mocked for a handful of quirky lyrics. The verse about ghosts and toasts became a favorite target for worst lyric ever lists, and soon the narrative shifted. Instead of being celebrated for her achievements, she was reduced to a punchline. It was a cruel reminder of how quickly the industry and media can turn on an artist, how one viral mockery can overshadow years of genuine success. And yet, questionable lyrics haven't sunk other careers. Many artists have released clumsy verses, only to continue selling out stadiums. Why was Desiree treated as disposable? This is why so many fans and insiders remain convinced that something more deliberate was happening. The pattern of lawsuits, the timing of her disappearance, the whispers from industry figures, it all points to a story bigger than just bad luck. The Beyoncé theory has become the most persistent explanation, that Desiree's determination to protect her art from one of the most powerful names in music made her a problem, and problems in this business rarely survive. History is full of artists who dared to challenge the system, only to find themselves erased from it. After nearly a decade of silence, Desiree resurfaced quietly in 2019 with the single Don't Be Afraid. But the industry that once embraced her didn't roll out the red carpet. The song barely registered, a sobering reminder of how far she'd been pushed out of the spotlight. Away from music, she poured her energy into other passions, studying ceramics, pottery, painting, and jewelry design, before eventually building a new career in alternative medicine. Today, she is a certified nutritionist and naturopath, a healer in a different sense, far removed from the world of record labels and chart battles. Still, questions linger. Was she punished for standing up for her rights as a songwriter? If she had stayed quiet and played the game, would she still be selling out arenas today? Or was her exit inevitable in an industry that often prioritizes protecting its power players over protecting its artists? The story of Des'ree is both inspiring and heartbreaking. Inspiring because she had the courage to defend her work. Heartbreaking because doing so may have cost her the career she deserved. For fans, her music lives on, as timeless and resonant as ever. But for the industry, her disappearance stands as a cautionary tale of what can happen when talent collides with power and power wins.